Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, INFJ. Today we're going to talk about INFJ extroverted feeling. Before we get started, comment, like, and subscribe, and let's do this. So, extroverted feeling. So I didn't feel like scripting a video this week. Extroverted feeling. I wanted to come on here and talk about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, extroverted feeling. But I didn't script, more extroverted feeling, and I don't have the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon audience is not my audience. My audience is the MBTI community. More extroverted feeling. I was like, I want to talk about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, but that's not my audience. So I want to do that anyway. So, a lack of coherent structure, a lack of articulation and preparedness, and overall responsibility of covering all my bases before I do something. Maybe that's also extroverted thinking. And then I guess not the best way, a way to do extroverted feeling is to just do it. A way to explain it is to just do it. So I'm going to talk about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. And in that, you will see INFJ extroverted feeling. So in House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, I'm going to compare Alicent, Rhaenyra, and Daenerys. So when I think of these three archetypes, it really, to me, highlights extroverted feeling in a few ways. So let's start with some disclaimers. So because this is extroverted feeling, there's not like the most logical preparedness. I have not read the Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, A Song of Ice and Fire books. I'm not a scholar. I'm not super well read up and educated on it. And I'm going off of my general impressions of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, and not on necessarily what it was intended or how it is received by the fandom. So, you can see extroverted feeling is like confirmation seeking, but it is feeling. So like your feeling is like kind of like a certain lens that is not necessarily, it's not that it's subjective, it's that it's like a feeling in that like we experience it. So it's confirmation seeking, but it's like, this is me seeking confirmation for my opinions on these TV shows that don't really align or that I haven't heard talked about in the Game of Thrones or the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom. So, let's get into it. So, Alicent Hightower in House of the Dragon. She is the character in the show who I most relate to because she seems responsible, she seems like a rule follower, and she seems like she's there to do her duty in a certain type of way. I know that all sounds like extroverted thinking, but like extroverted feeling, it likes to be prepared and productive and to be responsible and to like be like respectful, polite, well-mannered. This is where extroverted thinking and extroverted feeling look a lot alike. Remember, it's always like, oh, we have no extroverted thinking as INFJs. We're just up a creek. But we also have extroverted feeling. Like, come on, you. And so, Alicent, to me, now, and I heard people, when the first season came out, some people commented like, oh, like Alicent is not so empathetic in the books. And so that, to me, kind of indicated to me I'm probably not the only one who had this feeling. I relate to the Greens a lot, not in their like approach to life, but kind of like into their kind of like I feel, and see, this is the feeling, is that I feel like they're not like I feel like they're kind of looking at Rhaenyra like why is she get to be queen? The Aemond bonding with Vhagar, like the other kids are jealous of them. I'm like, Vhagar chose Aemond. Like, I don't care if y'all don't like it. Like, like there's this natural, Aemond is destined for this thing, and so, like, I mean, really to for those other kids, they're mad at Aemond, but really they're kind of disrespecting Vhagar's judgment of who Vhagar's rider should be. And isn't Vhagar like a really important dragon or something? And so this is extroverted feeling. I'm kind of like just talking, like rambling. I didn't have like an agenda, and I'm just talking about how the show makes me feel. And so that kind of is going to lead us into. So I know I talked very briefly about Alicent. To me, she's just a rule follower, and I relate to her. Extroverted feeling wants to be on time and respectful and all that. I think I said that. More extroverted feeling. Extroverted feeling is very rambly. And then, so we talked about Alicent, Aemond. Now on to Rhaenyra. So Rhaenyra to me is like opposing Alicent, because to me Rhaenyra feels like so human, and Rhaenyra is like Alicent is like I relate to personality wise, but Rhaenyra to me is like the embodiment of like the ups and downs of life, because Rhaenyra has so many ups and downs. She, like, her relationship with Kristen Cole doesn't work out. She's forced to marry someone who's not really into her. Laenor, Valerian, oh my god. Y'all, I'm so far from a Song of Ice and Fire scholar, but like, so this could be like all like kind of not true, but this is what I watched on TV, and hopefully I'm remembering it correctly. But this is more extroverted feeling. And so yeah. So Rhaenyra to me is just so human. She is like in love with someone, and she's prioritizing her love for that person over her duty to the crown. And so this is why, and so me watching the show, I'm kind of like, well, Rhaenyra really like is showing, does she even want to be queen? Like, because to be queen is to take accountability for those responsibilities. Does she even want that if she's just going to completely have her actions go in the direction of someone who chooses themselves, right? I don't know. And so, and I also relate to that. It's human, and it's inconsistent, and it's, I know that, I want to say messy. I know messy has like a really bad connotation, like, oh, they're messy. No, but like, it's messy as in it's not perfect. And so Rhaenyra is also very human, because her dragon isn't special, and Rhaenyra isn't all that special. And so I say this because she is one Targaryen, and there's a lot of other Targaryens in House of the Dragon. She has a dragon, and there's a lot of other dragons in House of the Dragon. And so my extroverted feeling, although I'm here seeking confirmation for it, doesn't really resonate with this idea that Rhaenyra resembles or Daenerys in any way. Which I guess people like want Daenerys to have like a different ending in Game of Thrones, probably myself included. But we're always trying to draw connections between them, and to me they're not total opposites. They're probably 80-20 opposites, not like 100% these people are opposing each other. But Rhaenyra is so human. Daenerys is completely inhuman. Daenerys is completely magical and godlike and messianic. This incredible pressure on Daenerys to be perfect, to be kind, to be sound of judgment and even tempered, and the breaker of chains. And she does all those things, and she excels at those things, but none of those things are like, those are all things like, it's basically like copy and paste Jesus onto another person, right? Like Jesus did all of those things, right? And so this is extroverted feeling, like these silly conclusions I'm coming to, but Daenerys, um, her hair is always very like magnificent in the later seasons. I know she like looks poor in the first seasons because she's like homeless and stuff, but like I know, but Rhaenyra is royal also, but Rhaenyra looks, she's next to a bunch of other royal people, and somehow when I see Rhaenyra, all I see is like the plain fragile humanity of Rhaenyra. And all Daenerys is this invincible life bringing agent of justice. And so we see this also like reflected, I think, in their deaths. So like Rhaenyra, her death scene, as I've seen it described on various just miscellaneous content, Rhaenyra's body seems to like bend and break like everybody else's, and it was really exemplified that Rhaenyra was human. Daenerys, she survives all of these people trying to assassinate her, and she walks through the flame, and people, I don't really know like if that was a one-time thing or not. I'm not the Game of Thrones scholar, but all Daenerys projects is like, or all Daenerys is portrayed to represent is peace, love, invincibility, maybe omnipotence with the dragons. And so to me, like House of the Dragon is much more amoral than Game of Thrones. And so like kind of back to this thing of Rhaenyra being human and Daenerys being godlike is that like when Rhaenyra died, like she was brutal. It was so brutal and like horrible. And when Daenerys is killed, the audience, myself included, everyone's reaction is, well, they're gonna bring her back to life, you know? And so that kind of is another layer that I see in this comparison between Daenerys and Rhaenyra. Dance of the Dragons, to me, there doesn't appear to be like a clear good and a clear evil. I know that's not like really upsetting, and like, okay, obviously, like, okay, I want Rhaenyra to be queen, so I would choose her as good, and I want, you know, but kind of how the show feels to me is that Dance of the Dragons just feels like this like very human, self-destructive wave, and kind of Rhaenyra's legacy is Aegon. Is his name Aegon? Her son is like the broken. Her son is just broken. Like the Westeros, the Targaryens are just broken in heart, broken in spirit. That's very much like Rhaenyra's legacy. And that was kind of like drawing like more parallels. That was like Jesus's legacy, was Jesus dying. And so I don't know. It's just really interesting to me that we want Rhaenyra and Daenerys to be so similar, but they're so not. But I think the shows are really great, and they show such depth in perspective into what we want, what we think we want, who we are, and who we think we are, and I don't know. Anyways, this is a lot of rambly, extroverted feeling. So to me, what this means in like Rhaenyra and Jesus is that they are both leaving like a legacy, and the messaging they are sharing is that they do not want to perpetuate like messaging that we should think of and view life in terms of like winners and losers, because both of these characters experience loss themselves. So yes, that to me is kind of extroverted feeling, the human experience.